So, my favorite RCS player retired recently, which is Retals. Let's talk about it. Hello and welcome to another training run video. So what I do in a training run video is I just train in Rocket League while I talk about something that interests me. And today I want to talk about Retals retiring because I'm a Retals fan. I'm a Retals fanboy. And recently he retired. Flip reset though? Oh no. So yeah, anyway, he recently announced his retirement. I would encourage people, if you don't know about this, I would encourage you to watch this video. He does a montage at the beginning of the video, which is very sentimental. And it's very like appropriate. It hit me in the feelings, bro. I'm not gonna lie, it made me a little sentimental because the dude had a career which spanned for like 8 to 9 years in Rocket League. And he's played with a bunch of teams. And though I didn't follow his career from the very beginning, I started following Retals' career when he was in SSG with Arsenal and Sypico, which by the way was the GOAT squad. Okay, aside from SSG, like from my favorite squad that he's been in, SSG with Arsenal and Sypico, for me that's the number one. The second best was when he was teaming with Cheese and Magic Bear in Gen G. I was really rooting for them. But anywho, let me tell you how I became a Retals fan. Okay, the first player that I ever liked, I really gravitated to was Arsenal, because Arsenal had a very bombastic personality. He was very entertaining, and he still is. You know what I mean? But I remember Arsenal was teaming up with Retals and Sypico, and I really liked that SSG squad. But back then, Arsenal was still my favorite. I didn't pay that much attention to Retals actually back then. But anyway, when the whole drama happened, this is way back, dude. When the whole drama happened, when they kicked Retals and supposedly it was Arsenal, and supposedly they had beef with each other, it was through that drama that I really became interested in Retals. And I had a lot of sympathy towards him. Even though I didn't hold a grudge towards Arsenal, because Arsenal back then was still like kind of my favorite player, I started to sympathize with Retals and his situation. And it felt like they had wronged him, you know what I mean? And that caused me to have a lot of sympathy for him. And that in turn caused me to support him a little bit more. And that in turn made me watch his content a little bit more. And let me tell you this. Back then, Retals, he was a decent enough content creator. But back then, I remember he was way more shy than he is now. He wasn't as confident as he is now, as a person or as a player. But I still liked him, you know what I mean? But the cool thing about watching Retals and sticking through him and sticking, watching through his content, is that I've seen this guy develop into like such a mature content creator and such a mature player. I've seen him actually develop and grow into a better person and a better player and a better content creator overall. That is why to this day, I think honestly, he's literally my favorite RCS player in terms of personality. Not when it comes to playstyle. Don't get me wrong. I like his playstyle. I think he's a very smart player, and he has a very specific kind of playstyle. It's not as flashy as other players. Sorry, but I think he's a good team player. He's a guy that likes to pass the ball. He's a guy that likes to create space, opportunity for his teammate to shine. He's not gonna be the star player that score all the goals. You know what I mean? Instead, he's a support player that's gonna help you get goals, and it's gonna help the team. That's the kind of playstyle that he has, and I like that playstyle. And that playstyle combined with his personality and his intellect, because I do think he's a smart player, kind of made me a fan of him. And like I said, I really watched this guy grow so much. Like back then, I remember watching him, and he lacked a little bit of confidence. You know what I mean? You know, to give you a comparison, it might not be a very fair comparison, but I was watching Beast Mode. Beast Mode also has his own channel as a content creator. I was watching Beast Mode, and I've seen Beast Mode also develop a little bit more confidence as a content creator. But I remember watching him at the beginning, and at the beginning they struggled. Him, like Retals, he struggled with just talking to himself, just talking to the camera, just having like a presence that is engaging. You know what I mean? Now Beast Mode is getting better, and that's what happened with Retals too. Retals started the same way, But he's been doing it for so long now that okay. He's been doing it for so long now that he kind of picked it up. You know, he kind of figured out what works for him and what doesn't. You know what I mean? Apart that, he has a bunch of collabs. He does a bunch of collabs with Flitz. I love Flitz, dude. Shout out to Flitz. Another very entertaining content creator. I think I really started liking Retals when he started making content with Lettermere, because for a while they were collaborating a lot, and I like the duo. I still like Lettermere, you know what I mean? So like I said, I've been watching this dude grow wiser and more mature as the years have gone by, and that's why he's my favorite RCS player. He's the guy that I rooted for every year, knowing full well that they didn't have a great chance to win. You know what I mean? I still rooted for him. And now that he retired, I don't know who to root for, bro. Like, I don't know which team to root for. I'm back at square one, not really having a favorite, not really being attached to any, not really having like a strong attachment to any player. At least not as strong as I had with Retals. You know what I mean? Now, I kind of get why he retired. And he goes through the video and he explains it. And I want to talk about some things that he talks about in the video that that resonated with me, or that I thought were interesting. He talks about his career, and he gives a shout out to all his teammates throughout all the years. You know what I mean? To his friends too. It seems like he's very grateful for the career that he had, even though he never quite won a championship. He had a good career. You know what I mean? And he seems very grateful for it. And he talks about being grateful for the position that he's in as a content creator, because he says, you know, something that's very obvious, very obvious to say, which is like he has the privilege of being a content creator. He has the privilege of playing video games for a living, which is something that he loves, and he has the privilege of making a career out of that. And now that he retired, he can focus more on being like a content creator. Oh my god, I missed that. Which I'm all for it, bro, because I'm gonna be honest, like I said, my favorite thing about Retals is his content and his personality and his collabs that he does with Flitz, with LJ, with Lettermere, with Arsenal. I love his collabs, bro. Like his collabs with Sis and Rizzo. Come on, those were fire, bro. I wish those guys come back. I wish Rizzo and Sis will come back. But you know, that's a whole nother topic. But anyway, he talks about his struggles as a player and as a content creator, which, mind you, he still acknowledges he's in a position of privilege. But you know, even privileged people, or people that are better off than some other people, they still go through troubles in their life, and they don't want to complain because they don't want to seem whiny. You know what I mean? But everybody goes through troubles in life. Now, I think he's like 21, and I think he's mature enough to realize that he's in a privileged position, and whatever problems that he has had, he's still in a privileged position, and he acknowledges that. So he doesn't dwell too much in his problems, though he recognizes that he had one, because being an RCS player can be pretty stressful. You know what I mean? And I can understand that. And being moved from team to team and trying to win a championship, trying to find that squad that works for you, it's a hard thing. It's a struggle. You know what I mean? And he acknowledges all that, while at the same time acknowledging that he has a very privileged, he has had a good career, and he's been privileged in what he does. You know what I mean? So I thought, again, I thought that's a sign of maturity from him. He talks about having panic attacks later on in his life, and like RCS and stuff like that, which is understandable. You know what I mean? I mean, that's the pressure that you have as a player. And he also talks about how he developed these panic attacks later on. When he was a teenager, he never really felt that. You know what I mean? But later on, as he grew older, I guess that it started affecting him more. You know what I mean? So being a player and, you know, going through all the runs and trying to make all the runs every year with a new team and a new squad did affect him in some way. Now, he also talks about why he retired, and he said that he could still play and he could still compete, which is true. I don't doubt it. He could still compete. Now, I'm gonna be super honest. I don't know if he could ever win a championship. I don't know, bro. Winning a championship an LCS championship, it's so hard. Finding the right team with the right people that's just gonna click, and the competition, the steep competition there is out there. Like, bro, look at First Killer. First Killer has been the goal for like forever, and he still hasn't won a championship. I mean, what chance do people like Retals and Arsenal have to win a championship if First Killer doesn't? Again, because you gotta find the right squad, and things gotta align for you and work out, and that's so hard to find that. So I do understand in a way why he retired. And another thing is, he's been doing so well as a content creator, and he's developed so much as a content creator, that it just makes sense to retire and focus on content creation. I mean, we can probably still play in tournaments, because, you know, it's funny because even when LCS players retire, they still keep playing the game. They can still participate in tournaments. They can even make RLCS runs again. When another team like Letomir did that, Turbo Pulsa, Alpha Cap, they've done all that. You know, even though they retire, they still play the game, and sometimes they try to make a run for it. And Retals can do that, and so can Arsenal, you know what I mean? So he's not fully out of the game, you know what I mean? He's not fully out of the Rocket League scene. However, now he can focus more on his studies, which the guy's gonna be like, he's studying to be like a nuclear physicist. Like, I didn't know that, bro. And, you know, he can focus more on content creation, which is good. Now, to wrap it up, like I said, to emphasize it again, I'm really a fan of Retals because of his personality. Like I said, I've seen him grow, become a better person, and a better player, and a better content creator. And now maybe that he's focusing on content creation, he can probably do more ideas, explore more concepts that are more creative and more satisfying and more entertaining to watch as a viewer. And I'm happy for him that he can still have a career as a content creator, that I can still enjoy his content as a viewer, that he's not gonna go anywhere even though he retired. Am I sad to see him go? Yes, because like I said, I don't have anything to root for now. I used to root for anything that he was on. That's how much I like this guy. It was like the centerpiece for me to like any team. And it's through him that I really started liking Magic Bear, because I think Magic Bear is such an underrated player, bro. And it's through him that I like those guys. You know what I mean? So I am gonna miss his presence in RLCS. But at the same time, I'm happy that he can focus on his studies. He can focus on his personal life. Spend more time with his girlfriend, his family, more time as a content creator, all that. So even though it's a little bit sad to see him retire, I'm still going to support him as a content creator and as a person, and I wish him the best. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on Retals retiring. If you happen to be a fan of Retals, or if you're an anti-fan and hate him, please let me know in the comments what you think about his retirement, and thank you for watching. See you guys later.